Welcome to Real Estate Real World, where we talk to the movers, shakers, and leaders that are getting it done right now in the real estate industry and beyond. I'm your host, Marguerite Crespillo, and I started this podcast simply dedicated to calling people about what's really happening in this crazy roller coaster ride of real estate. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and stay up to date on the newest stuff by adding yourself to the list at www.realestaterealworld.com. Now, let's dive into the world of real estate. Hello, everybody. It is Marguerite Crespillo, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people. And, you know, it's fun. I get invited to be on other people's shows, and I love doing that. So if you got a great show out there, give me a call and see if it's a good fit. But I got reached out to by these guys to be on their show a couple months ago, I guess. And it was such a fun conversation. I'm like, I totally need to have Brad on my show. So let's hear all about him. Brad Allen is the dynamic co-owner and broker in charge of The Art of Real Estate, where he spent over 19 years redefining what it means to buy and sell homes in the Southeast. Brad has been a driving force behind more than 3,500 successful transactions, blending relentless work ethic with a passion for delivering five-star client experiences. Backed by a powerhouse team, he helped build from the ground up. Beyond the brokerage, Brad is a serial entrepreneur, love that phrase, with a knack for launching businesses that orbit the real estate world, from flipping houses and managing rentals to diving into mortgages and insurance. He's also a podcaster and YouTube sensation, known for sharing real, actionable insights that help both clients and fellow agents navigate the ever-evolving market. I'm a little tongue-tied today, you guys. Whether he's leading workshops for industry pros, brainstorming the next big thing in real estate, or just swapping stories behind the mic, Brad brings energy, humor, and a genuine sense to make real estate better for everyone. So welcome, my friend Brad.
Thank you. Sensation.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thanks to
like
AI.
The cameras are all a little bit, yeah. Oh, AI, I'm telling you what, it's like changing the game, is it not?
Yeah, I wish it could be like a body changing thing too, right? Like maybe look like this today. So make me sound cool today. Make me sound like a YouTube sensation with 60 followers. So yeah, getting out there. So, just kidding. Thanks for having me.
It's pretty cool. It's funny because I had the weirdest response on AI the other day, and it sounded like, oh, like that's how I feel too. I was like, you actually is there a person back there that I don't know about that I'm like,
Probably.
it was weird. It was like, I was like, wait a minute. Like I had to step back for a second and say, like, how do you feel? How do you really feel?
Oh man, I don't want to get into that question. That'll be all day. That'd be a long report it's going to put out there of how it feels. So.
Well, it's funny because people are starting to use it for like, I have too, I'm not going to lie, for like therapy sessions and like, what the heck is the matter with me? Why can't I do this? And how do I get this resolved? And all that crazy stuff in your head,
Yeah. I'm married to a marriage and family therapist, so I feel like I don't have to do that with AI. I just go home and I get plenty of it. So it's actually just about to we're this weekend 18. I think it's 18 years of marriage, something like that.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I will have to send you out my book. I think I sent one. To Wayne. I wrote a book called 100 Things I Love About You.
Oh, that's awesome.
All about relationships. And it's a fun little journal book. So you can actually write the 100 things that you love about your wife, because I'm sure you can rattle those off.
I can. We don't have time today, but I would probably have 300 right now. So,
well, I'll get your address after the show and I'll send you one. So
perfect. That'd be great. Thank you.
It'd be a cheap and easy anniversary gift. You'll score some points with it if you fill it out.
For sure. I'm sure I would.
Well, tell me this. How did you get into this crazy real estate world? How did you land here?
I lost a bet pretty much. No. Yeah, honestly, I got into it right out of college. I think being naive was helpful. It was 2006-ish. I'll speed through it. But was at a crossroads. I was in college getting ready to graduate. I was a criminology major. So I really
Oh,
did want to go like federal law enforcement, like criminal minds, that kind of stuff. So did all the ologies. And I was bartending at like a restaurant, not an all night college bar, making good money. And I was like, what do I want to do? And real estate's always been in my orbit. My brother's older. He's on flips. Grandparents were realtors, but really kind of disconnected. So I'm not a second gen realtor, or I guess it may be third
right.
gen, but really had no influence on me, but always been around real estate. So getting to it, 2006, things were good. And I was like, I don't know, man. I could go to the military and come back as a federal, like, and get my federal stuff. And so my brother's like, why don't you just go talk to this lady that sold a condo to my brother that I lived in college and see what's up. Well, it's 2006. I mean, they had a recruiter who was a former like Navy recruiter. So you're going to sign whatever he wanted. And
Yeah.
it sounded great. But I learned very quickly after signing up that it was just nothing but grit and hard work. So I learned the hard way of being in a town that I knew nobody other than about 12 other people, and had to try and grind my way through it in 2006. And I still remember my dad going, get a job that's recession proof. I'm like, for sure. And there we went. So yeah, that's how I got into it, just by kind of happenstance, but been doing it ever since.
It's funny because you mentioned that you were in a new area, so you didn't know anybody, right? And what I love about that, because so I just was on a podcast the other day with, or a webinar with Gail DeMarco, who's out of
Mhm.
Florida. And she literally a year ago packed up. She was from here in my area. I'm in Northern California. And her mom got sick. So she decided to pack up and go move to Florida where she could help out her mom. So new market, didn't know a soul, nobody, didn't know anything. So she's like, I had to get creative and I had to figure out how to do it free or cheap, right?
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
to go out there and build relationships. And I love that because I love to tell agents even now, like, cause a lot of people are struggling in this industry right now, right? Like
Hmm.
things are,
Yeah.
things are tough. And they all are looking for the easy button. They're looking for that button that they can just push and their phone rings off the hook that says, I can't wait to work with you, Brad. I'm so excited. Can I pay you extra? Like
Right.
they're looking for that magic button and they're spending all of this money. And I was talking to this agent the other day and I go, well, how many people do you have in your database? And he goes, well, people that I know, I only have like 20, 25. He goes, I have like 300 in there, but they're all just like a farm.
Yeah.
And I said, can you open your phone? And I go, yeah. And I go, can you go and scroll down in the contacts to that last number, the very last edge of your contacts? And how many contacts do you have in your phone? And he goes, well, 1,172.
Right.
And I'm like, those
Yep.
are people that somehow you know them. Like at some point you've talked to them and said, hey, give me your number, right? Or you exchanged texts or you bumped into them in a store. So there is no easy button. So for you to go into a new market, what did you do first? How did you survive in like a kind of a brand new area? Didn't know anybody.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it was grit, but it was grit of being flexible. So the lady that actually sold the condo to us, for the first summer, I just got in there and worked, and I got pity deals. We had a big I was Prudential at the time, so we had pretty big relocation, and literally they would be like, "Hey, have this one, take this one." And let's be honest, if anybody's giving deals out, they're not good deals. So, I mean, I remember selling a
Yeah.
400,000 trailer an hour away and stuff like that. So I saw an opportunity with this lady was very good and she could find business, but she was typical high producing agent with no structure, just spastic. And so
Right.
I sort of wiggled my way in there, started doing property management for her properties, and then really just kind of teamed up. And I said, you go get it. I'll handle it. And so no kids, not married yet. So those were 12, 13-hour days. And just kind of learn the process. So I'm more of a back of the office kind of guy. I'm more of the system processes philosophy. I mean, I still sold, I still did a lot of stuff like that, but I saw drinking from a fire hose very rapidly and then seeing the need for a team. So about a year after I started, we started a team, and they were not cool back in 2007. It was not really well.
Wasn't a thing.
No. So fortunately, being with Prudential, and we went to all the national conventions and met some people and kind of just failed our way through it. But yeah, I mean, I got lucky because I latched onto somebody and I was able to learn and then try and mimic it and then create a team and then create it to a company. So not
That's
not
so funny because I started at Prudential too.
yeah, yeah.
And
Miss those days.
Yeah, and I worked for an REO broker, and I didn't know anything. I mean, I was a cocktail waitress, which I think the bars are the best sales training you can get. But
Right.
um, and he literally, the phones would ring, and he'd like just answer the phone, and they'd be like, and of course, okay, so I'm older than you. I started in real estate 31 years ago, so we didn't have cell phones or any of that.
Right.
So I was literally driving out to houses that like they want to write an offer, and we'd have to drive back and do all this kind of stuff. And so kind of a similar story. But so then you started building teams, and what is exactly, you are the CEO, the art of real estate. So tell us what that means.
Yeah. So the Art of Real Estate is the name of our company. We're a boutique, Prudential to Berkshire Hathaway, and then left about 10 or 11 years ago. I think the word teamerage is probably too loose of a term for us, but we decided to take what we were giving in splits from the company and hired staff. So, yeah. So right now we've got, we're licensed. I'm in 4 states. We're small. We've only got about 35 agents, and we've got about 7 staff people. So we kind of help the agents do what they need to do that they're not good at. We're not taking the deals from them. We're not writing repair addendums. Like, they're still the agents, but we just know, wearing 27, 37 hats, whatever it is a realtor wears, they can't be good at all of them. And usually what happens is the client experience goes downhill. So we're there to make sure the client experience is good, no matter what life throws at our agents. And I think collectively we do a really good job of that. So yeah, we've got the boutique real estate side. We cover pretty much South Carolina, a little bit of Georgia, and then up into the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee.
So are you independent brokerage, or are
We
you
are.
with a company? Okay. So
No,
you're
we're
independent,
independent.
you fly solo? Okay.
One of the
Um,
last ones.
one of the last ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my own brokerage for 22 years, but couldn't pay me to do that again. Thank goodness. Yeah. Yeah, we had a pretty big one. We had 120 agents, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
was
No, thank you.
yeah, it was and it is getting tougher and tougher. There's becoming a bigger divide that we're
Mhm.
seeing. There's not really mid-size or medium brokerages as much anymore. Either they're joining the
Yeah.
big boys, or you got to stay really small and lean and mean. So
Yeah.
it's there doesn't seem to be much of an in between. There was for many years, but that divide is becoming bigger
I
and
agree.
bigger.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So these agents work for you, but you guys handle a lot of the back office stuff. Is that and also mean with regards to managing their database and marketing and advertising and stuff like that? Or what does that look like for the
Yeah,
agents?
that's a good question. So basically, it's going to be transaction management, right? But a little more in depth. So like what's the word? Conversing. There we go. With attorneys and the lenders and all the people. So basically, what I want to have happen is the agents either they find business, or we help them find business through a lead generation. We have a side of that. And then they are the agents. They're writing offers. They're doing all the fun stuff. They come in, turn the file in, and we make sure the inspections are set up. We make sure the clients know what's going on with the agent's help. So that way we're just making sure. So like, best example, you're out showing all weekend. You write an offer on Saturday or Sunday. You're tired. You want to spend a couple hours with your kids before Monday rolls around. So I want you to be able to turn that contract in with a certain form. And then Monday morning, our coordinators pick it up. They have your inspection set. The lender knows, the attorney knows, the other agent knows, and your client all knows what's about to happen with 3 hours of turning it in. So that way your client's not Googling it. Your client's not trying to figure out what's coming next. They know what's coming because you can say, within 3 hours of Monday morning, you're going to know what's up and everything's going to be set. That way the agents can do what they're good at. And that's either, go find more business or go take a day. But I got to make sure the
Yeah.
client knows. So no, we're not the database management. Yeah, we have some VAs that would help people with that. We have a full-time in person, if you will, staff member that does that stuff as well. And then the marketing side, we run as a team, Rich. So a lot of my agents aren't doing their independent marketing. They don't have like their own signs and logos. Like, we usually find agents that are not in the business, help get them licensed or shortly thereafter, and then help them build a business through either a little bit of lead gen, and then we help them build their sphere. I'm a big sphere of influence builder, and that's kind of what we work our company around. And then we help with training and everything else. So I'm I'm kind of an oddity. I don't care if my agents want to market themselves or create their own signs, like if they wanted to. But honestly, most people don't do a good enough job of putting their name out there, let alone putting a team name out there. So I like to
Yeah.
start them and like let people know who Brad Allen is before you do some script font BA team out there that nobody knows what they're doing. So I have no problems with it. But yeah, we handle all of the MLS input stuff, which is basic. But then we take it a step further and we do either Matterports or Reels or drones or whatever it needs to be.
So what is your goals or hope for that company and where you want to take it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We're in the middle of that right now. So I've got a business partner. We've been partners for 17 years. She sells. She's a beast. She probably sells 30 to 35 million a year, which our average is around 300,000. So we're talking turn and burn.
Yeah, a lot of houses,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So 10 years ago, didn't really know. 10 years from now, we're not sure either, but we've tried the expansion route. We've had, 4 or 5 offices open at once, and it's hard to replicate without the people and the time. So it's a hard spot, and I'm glad you asked that because we're trying to actually figure that out. Like, what are we going to do when we get older? Do we want to build this up to sell it? Do we want to go and get acquired, not acquired, but do we want to go join with a national firm and try and use that leverage? But what stays true to us, and I'm throwing no mud at any company. You're right. Being small and being lean is really what we're about, and giving a good client experience. So that means we're very selective of who we bring in, or vice versa. A lot of people select out because they don't want to go through the training and stuff that we do. So
Right.
for right now, yeah, we're rocking and rolling, and we have a mortgage and insurance arm that is helping supplement what we're doing because we want to be like kind of a concierge to people that are coming into the market. So we don't have an end goal at the moment. We're working on that though.
It's interesting because as I mentioned, I for 22 years we had our own brokerage, and my husband was a broker, but he was in the mortgage business, so he never
Mhm.
really did the real estate. He was
Yeah.
broker name only. And I mean, he actually oversaw the agents and helped with a lot of agent stuff, but he wasn't in production per se. And didn't really, we kind of were in the same boat. We're like, maybe we'll sell it, maybe we'll, do something. We didn't really know. And at one point, we did buy into a franchise, which for the record, I would not recommend you ever buy into a
Right.
franchise.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, don't buy into a franchise, because it was a 10-year agreement, and the people who make the money on the franchise is the franchisor.
Right.
Anyway, we won't go down that rabbit hole, but um, we bought into a franchise, and we were 5 years into it. And my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, what are we going to do? So then we had to take that conversation much more serious. Like, what's the
Yeah.
plan? Right. And the sad truth was that when it does come down to it, is many times the only way to sell your company is you have to pull the production of the highest producer out of there, which is usually you or your partner,
Right.
and see if the company is still profitable. And 99% of the time, it's not.
Correct.
Right. And when we really started looking at that, I was like, okay, so that means that I am working my butt off and paying every month and closing deals to support these agents so that they have a place to work and I have
Yep.
a place to work. And when we really looked at that, it didn't make sense. Like because I would have had to stay on if a company would buy us. The company would not, most companies would not buy us because we were part of a franchise. So they would have had to have acquired and kept that franchise
Right.
name. So we made probably the second hardest day of my life was the day that we made the decision to shut the company down.
Hmm.
And we had 120 agents. So we said, y'all got to go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And 100 of them scattered. 20 said, we'll go wherever you are. And we stayed independent. We got out of the franchise and we stayed independent for 2 more years. And then we had the conversation and learned about EXP and
Yeah.
joined EXP 9 years ago. But if he had talked to me a year before, I'd have been like, absolutely not
Right.
interested, not my jam, not going
Yeah.
anywhere. And we got interviewed I mean, I got flown out to Austin, to
Yep.
KW, Remax, and they all came after me and hit me
Yep.
pretty hard. It didn't make sense. So I probably would have stayed as a small, just me and a few agents, and done my thing and tried to put some money towards, rental
Yeah.
properties or whatever you can to become, um, create that passive income. But it is a tough dynamic because what's next? And at some
Yep.
point, life happens by choice or by force, right? So at some
Yeah.
point you will either not have a choice and it'll be force, or you will have to make a choice
Right.
to go one direction or not. But the model that you've created is awesome. I mean, the client experience is the most important thing. And I think a lot of people forget about that client
For sure.
experience.
At least my opinion. And we're just like you. I've been flown all around the place of wanting us to buy into a franchise or be bought or be acquired or whatever. And it's just like, no, same exact conversation. And when it comes down to it, like our model, the way that we want it is the client experience. And I feel like there's a lot of companies, no shade, but they are in the agent business. They're not in the real estate business. They are there to make sure the agents are happy, or they're there to make sure that they kind of just keep some bumpers on them. But like other than that, like just wrestle it out with whoever. I am concerned about the client experience. Like
Right.
our main office is we're in Columbia, South Carolina, so not a small town. It's the state capital, but it's small compared to everywhere else in the world. And people know people, and people know things. And so if people get a bad rep or get a bad experience, they don't want to come back. And I'm in the retention of client business. I am not trying to just do a one and done. Like that's the cost of acquisition is too high. And so
So true.
we're just focused on it, and we're trying to improve that every day, because you either serve everybody in your market or you serve a niche. And I feel like we serve a niche. And my ideal client doesn't have a price point. I don't care about this price of the houses. And that's not BS, because there's money in every price point. But my job is to make sure they call us when they're ready. And so our hope is with the insurance, which is doing very well, and our mortgage, that there's 3 professionals calling these people yearly at some point, just checking in, whether it's renewals or just seeing how they're doing. And then we have 7 client events that we put on as a company, so we can always be out there pushing stuff in front of them. And that is how I believe real estate should be done. I think people should have a good experience. They shouldn't just be like, hey, you're under contract, good luck. They should know what's coming. They should know what's happening and have access to somebody, whether it's the agent or somebody that's supporting them. So that way they know that they're actually just not getting left by the wayside, because so many people are trying to figure it out themselves. And agents think our clients are crazy. And I had a talk a long time ago. I don't remember if it was Inman or what, but I was like, your clients are crazy. It's your fault. Like
Yeah.
that's the basis of it.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. And it's wild because I see what these agents post on social media, and I just want to be like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like and not only are they, I go, here's the thing. You wonder why your family and friends don't use you. Here's why, because you're talking shit about everybody. You're talking all this crap about your clients, and you don't, and you think, well, if I went with them, they're going to talk about
Yeah.
me that way. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane to me. Like I just had an agent who, I have this a friend of mine, and she's always complaining, and I struggle with it. And she posted this whole long diatribe on Facebook about this horrible experience she was having with this 90-year-old or 80. And I'm like, why would you post that? And then all these agents who were complaining about their clients, I'm like, that is
Yep.
insane to me that you are okay with that, right? And then
Well,
you wonder
yeah.
why people won't use you.
Well, when I turn
And
90, if I make it that far, I'm going to give everybody hell. So anybody, my agent's going to get a load, but yeah, no, it is. And, or even, I think it's a little, and I'm a social media guy. I do content because I am trying to use that as attraction, letting agents know who I am in my market, which we're a small market. Most of them do, but they get to know a sense of me before I call them and say, hey, let's get coffee and see if we're a good fit. But I'm seeing so much social media, and I'm a little bit older than most of the agents now, doing stupid shit on social. Like
oh,
I was doing the other day. It was like, what's the break down the closing cost for me? And they're like, okay. And they start dancing, but they're dancing like jean shorts and a t-shirt. And they've got like, I have tattoos. I have no problem with that. But like, they've got like full sleeve tattoos and like their hair pulled. I'm like, y'all look like a bunch of knuckleheads, right? I mean, this is what people think we're doing now. Like, how about some professionalism? Like, where'd that come from?
It's funny because it goes back and forth. Because I don't know if you've seen this gal. I was just going to try to find her on TikTok. Have you heard about this gal? She's, I think, in your neck of the woods somewhere. Um, and she does these whole, I can't find her right now, but she does this whole comedy. I mean, they're hilarious. Like, but it's way edgy, like way past. I
Oh,
mean,
talking about like bathrooms and showers and being like, you can have coitus in there or whatever kind of thing. Like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or
I've
she
seen
talks
those.
about her mom, and talks about her time in jail, and I mean, for comedy, it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
for sure.
And I was genuinely thinking last night, I'm like, I wonder how many like consumers are actually using her because of the way she's marketing. Because I mean, again, I've been 31 years in real estate. So I go way back when, tattoos were not okay. You had to
Right.
cover them,
Yeah.
and you had to show up in suits. And,
Hmm.
we were always like, I never allowed anyone to come into my office with jeans on, right? Like it
Right.
was, you were always dressed professional. So this whole other end of the extreme,
Yeah.
I struggle with. I mean, it works apparently in this social media world, but I'm like, what is? I guess there is a certain type of consumer that is attracted to that. So you're kind of going after that, right? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know, but
I
how
think it's
some show
people.
up, it's different,
Yeah, and I think agents like to hide behind, I want to work with who I want to work with, right? And they'll like me for who I am.
right?
Maybe. Like I'm sorry, I like money. Like I do. And like there's a lot of opinions I have. Hell, there's some football team. We're in the South, right? We got some football teams I like to support. You don't find that
Yeah,
shit on my car because we're dumb
yeah,
enough to be like, I'm not using you because of that. So I don't
right.
I don't fall into all of that. I can see if it's offensive, somebody's offensive, you don't want to work with them. But I believe you got to be one step above your clients, whatever that looks like. And at the same time, you've got to be professional. But I think this is the whole unraveling that we're seeing in real estate right now with the whole lawsuits and everything else, because people are watching these dumbass TikToks and going, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And
Yeah.
therefore it puts all of us in a situation where we're like, we're not even being paid our worth anymore because we got the other ones dragging us down a little bit.
Well, and I think that that actually ties back into kind of the beginning of our conversation and of your company is that honestly, if you're building your business right and you're building it with relationships, then those people know you, like you, and trust you. They know who you
Right.
are.
Right.
They know that you're not, this guy that's out there doing crazy stuff or whatever. Because, I mean, I'm from the days before we even had social media. And, back then and you still you don't talk about politics, religion, and now you can't talk about COVID, right? So you
Yeah.
cannot talk about those three things because people are it's so extreme.
Yeah.
And
100%.
and it's just the way the world has become. And so you have to kind of adjust and adapt to what that is that's going on in the current economy. And some
Yeah.
people are like, they don't like my politics, they don't have to use me. Okay. I mean, again,
Yeah.
that's your choice. But I mean, and I've had clients ask me directly,
Mhm.
like who I'm voting for, because I'm not going to work with you if you voted for X, right? And I'm like, you know what? I don't talk about my personal
Yeah.
stuff about, that's my personal business and who
Yeah.
I vote for. And there's a new one every 4 years. So,
Right. Yeah. I'm not in the booth yet. I haven't decided. There's still buttons to push. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know, but yeah. Well, where do you see, where do you see things going in this industry a little bit? I mean, I know we don't have a magic ball, but
Sure.
what is your opinion with all this that's happening and how it's impacting you and your business?
Yeah. No, great question. I think the winners are always going to win, right? So I don't know what that necessarily looks like, but I do know at the end of the day, we're going to have a couple of things that we need to know about and how to manipulate. And that's, I mean, obviously AI is the big ticket right now, and it's always something. It's iBuyers, it's Zillow, it's whatever it is. But I mean, AI is not going anywhere, and nor do I think it's going to take our jobs. I do not.
Right.
But I think we're going to have to know our craft because it's a lot easier to type in how much should 123 Main Street be, and it gives you a dossier of pricing. So now your clients don't even have to look at this estimate. Like they're going to have some real data. So you got to be able to combat that. I think it's going to wean out the real estate agent market a little bit. That's fine. That's not a big deal there. I think commissions you'll be paid what you're worth now. And we
Yeah.
have seen our commissions stay steady. We've always been more of a um, above market rate because of what we do and how we do it. And that's not changed. We just found a way to adapt it and to conversate it a little bit better. Um, I think you'll see some consolidation of the big companies. I think you'll see some of these hedge funds start buying them up and then putting them together and trying to do that because I think the deal count's going to be going down over the next 5 years. So,
Yeah.
if people are doing 5 deals, they're like, that's cool, but we got to put you together with somebody that's doing more. And yeah, I mean, I feel like some of the small mom and pops, I talked to a lady the other day and she's like, I'm going to go open my own spot. I was like, and I actually I kind of consult with new companies most of the time talking out of it. But I'm like, well, why? Like, what are you doing? And she's like, I just want to work for myself. I'm like, okay, but it's gonna be really expensive and it's gonna hurt, but I think you can do it. So I think you'll have a lot less smaller companies opening, and I think it's gonna be a lot of more hedge funds, a lot more bigger pockets coming in.
Yeah, it's interesting because with regards to AI, Glenn Sanford, the founder of
Mhm.
EXP, he said, he goes, I don't think that agents, it will put agents out of the business, but agents who don't adapt to AI will go out of the business.
Absolutely.
Right. So basically the same thing you said. And and it is interesting because when it comes down to, costs and commissions and what you're worth, I've had some really interesting conversations where the agent on the other end, if I'm representing a buyer, they always want to counter the commission. And I'm like, why? And they go,
Yeah.
well, you wrote in that you're going to make more than I am. I said, well, then you're the idiot, not me.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like, you made that decision, and I even just got an offer accepted, and I was representing the seller and the buyer's agent after we're already in contract. She already negotiated. She sent her buyer broker agreement. We had the fee negotiated in the contract. I never countered it. I didn't, nothing. She comes back, she goes, well, what's the seller going to pay in commission? And I said, you wrote it. You
Yeah.
wrote it on your buyer agreement
Yeah.
and your contract. Like, I'm confused what your
Yeah.
question is,
Yeah.
So it is interesting, and I do think it's going to weed out. I think there's going to be a dynamic. So I think the agents who only do 1, 2, 3 deals a year for their family,
Right.
friends, I
Right.
think those people will be fine because they're going to go to some flat fee place. They're going to still do 1 or 2 deals for their family, friends.
Sure.
The big teams are going to probably be at bigger companies. It just
Right.
makes sense to be big teams. There's going to be that 2 to 10 or 2 to 12 units that those agents are really struggling because most of
Yep.
them, this is their job. They don't have another job. And they can't go from closing 12 deals a year to 4 deals a year. So they're going
Right.
to go find a job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
I
there's going
do.
to be kind of a divide in there. We'll see.
Yeah. I also think the companies more so than ever are going to have to focus more and more on providing value to their agents and education. So kind of talking about the
100%.
commission stuff, we just had a deal. Actually, I don't think it's closed yet. My agent's listing agent, they presented the offer. No commission mentioned, no compensation agreement, nothing in the offer. And so my agent calls me, is like, what do we do? And I was like, well, talk to your client, let them know that they haven't asked for it and that they may not know what they're doing and come back later and ask for it after we're ratified. And we're going to have to deal with that. Because at the end of the day, people want to mess up a deal. They're going to mess up a deal. But
Right.
do you want us to reach out proactively and ask them if they want commission, which could be bad? So she said, no, let's just see what they do. I know I'm open to it. Let's just see. So homeboy comes back like a month later and was like, here's a comp agreement. And again, took it to the client. They're like, I'm not paying you. Like, we're already done. Signed, sealed, done. So he starts acting like he's going to cancel the deal. So I call his broker, who I know very well, very good broker, big company. And she called me back and she's like, well, it's going to be a hard lesson for him to learn. Like, I guess he's not getting paid commission. But they don't come to training that often, Brad. They don't
I
know
know.
what's going on. And I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making fun of her. She can only do what she can do with the company she works for. But I was like, man, you just lost $12,000. Like, you can't afford that on a grand scale. And you also can't
No.
afford your agents taking subpar commission on a wide basis because you won't be able to open your book. So I think they're going to have to get back to education, and the word mandatory might come out of people's mouths again, which God forbid.
Yeah. It's a whole new world. I know that Leo said, he goes, there's going to be a messy middle, right? And we're kind of in the messy middle.
Yeah.
The beginning was a shit show, and then now we're kind of in this messy middle where people are still trying to figure it out, and it's already settling out
Mhm.
a lot, but
Yeah.
of course now we have other things going on, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today. It's a whole nother podcast.
It's always
The
something, that's
whole
for sure.
what's the newest one? Zillow. Oh, Compass and Zillow are battling, right?
Yeah,
It'll
the
be
the
interesting.
pocket listing stuff. So
Which has been going on since the beginning of time, right?
mhm.
It's always been an
Yeah,
issue. Is it in the
yeah,
best interest of the client? In my opinion, most of the time, no.
yeah,
Are there times when it needs to be? Yes. I mean, I've had family situations or things where, it
sure.
just made sense to sell off market.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's not in the best interest of the client.
Well,
So hopefully
especially
we'll
when I
solve
think the company, and we're a flyover state, so Compass isn't even in my market, but I believe it's a sales tactic to get agents. Like, come over here, you can double side it, you can use pocket listings, you can get ahead of it. Nobody else is doing that. And I also believe that Zillow is a real estate company and a realtor brand, and so they have to
they
follow
are.
rules as well. So I think they're going to be stuck in some weird legalness of having to fulfill the realtor side, but also deal with the lawsuit on the Compass side. But I just think it's a lot of fluff. I think it's just something to get headlines to keep their name out there, because when you're run
Yeah.
by a hedge fund, you got to keep bodies coming in the door. So nothing against them. I just think it's a
1000%.
tactic.
Yeah. Well, Brad, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And I really appreciate your time. I'm excited to see what you do, what you make, what decisions you make with your business, because it's always a lot to think about. And at the end of the day, you got to sit down and figure out what's best for you. And it's hard,
Yeah.
it can go. I'm sure you will do amazing wherever you go and whatever you do. But this crazy business that seems about 20 years in is right around the time and you're like, maybe I need to rethink how this all goes.
Yeah, yeah. Planning and legacy are coming into it. But yeah, thanks for letting me be on the podcast as well and share some thoughts. And I had a great time with you on our podcast as well. So thanks for letting me be on this side of the mic for one time.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll get to connect here in the future at some point. So thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much for joining us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people. If you're out there in the Columbia, South Carolina area, go by and visit Brad. He's got a great thing going on out there. And be sure to listen to his podcast as well. We'll post it in the show notes. So thank you, everybody, for joining us on Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people and go out there and make it an amazing day. Thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Real World, where we talk with masters and leaders in the real estate industry and beyond on how we can raise the bar in our industry. Please subscribe over on iTunes, and while you're there, be sure to give us a review. Your reviews encourage us and help others to find our podcast for show notes and hot topics on what's going on right now in our real estate industry. Also, hop on over to www.realestaterealworld.com and add your name to our email to get early advance notice of upcoming podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and go out there and be a part of the elite masterclass and raising the bar on the real estate industry.